time for the next 70 days, unless he could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris president of the United States. Make it easier for the next woman who runs for president to not have to worry about the historical, weight of being the first. Well, rewriting history is what Speaker Pelosi appears intent on doing. Now she's telling the New York Times on the record it is President Biden's fault for not dropping out in time for a mini primary.
Had the president gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. Kamala, I think, still would have won, but she may have been stronger having taken her case to the public sooner.
And clips like that have Biden allies urging the current president to go out on his own terms.
This is what I'm going to tell Joe. Joe, since they're talking smack about you anyways, you know what? Maybe pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
Pardon Hunter, because basically America just pardoned a criminal.
We emailed 8 Biden White House officials asking them if there's anything to this idea that he could possibly get squeezed out again. None of them have responded yet. Charles?
Peter, thank you very much. So this is just the latest jab at Biden. This, of course, after Harris' stunning defeat. With me now to discuss, White House correspondent for The Hill, Alex Jancinano, and along with Wall Street Journal editorial board member and Fox News contributor Bill McGurn. Bill, let me just start with you. The insults keep coming for Joe Biden. It just feels like the man, he played along, he did everything they told him to do, and now they want him to do one more act of humiliation.
Look, I'm just trying. Yeah, he deserves it all, in my opinion. He did stay too long. He did preside over a kind of rigged primary, and he put Democrats in a bad place. But I have to say, all the people pointing at Biden within the Democratic Party, they did the exact same thing. Nancy Pelosi
only 20 milligrams
wasn't
of
all
THC,
there,
that's why
and she
it's so
covered
cheap.
for him. She never said this stuff a year ago when it might have helped.
I'm going to
They
use it,
all are
definitely.
guilty in some ways. So it's kind of interesting now to watch the recriminations. I have a column coming up on this in about 2 hours, and it's like Democratic Festivus, the airing of grievances. Only 2 weeks ago we were told how unified they were, and now they're all blaming each other, telling us what we thought all along.
Look at these. Look how greedy these little motherfuckers are.
Yeah, I think right now
One just grabbed like 4 from his
situation
hands
that
and
no
ran away on
stone
his
is
hind
left
legs.
unturned in terms of trying to figure out what went wrong. Was it she didn't spend her money wisely enough? Is now a big conversation point today.
People
Her
love a
messaging,
Manny.
of course, should President Biden have never
And it's
ran?
for
Should he
Peanut
have
the
dropped out
squirrel up
sooner?
in New York.
And
You
now
know
to
about
suggest
Peanut,
that
right?
he leave, President Biden still
No, I don't think
waited
it's done yet.
decades
I don't think it's
to
done
get
yet.
to the
Don't even
White
try.
House. He did it for 4 years. I don't think he's going
I'm
anywhere.
gonna
He
give it
already
till
gave
quarter
up
after,
running
and then I'm
again,
gonna
and he's
start the
definitely
noodles.
not giving up this one. I think, Vice President Harris can figure out what her
Figure
next
this will
steps are.
probably take
But I
about
think
20
at this
minutes
point,
for the
we
water to
will
heat
see
up,
the
boil the
president
noodles.
there. We're seeing later this
And a
week,
little
he's going to bring
maybe like-
President-elect Trump
maybe like
into the
20 to
White
4
House. The
will
two of
be
them will have a normal transition
pocket, I
process, and
think.
he'll act like, he'll continue to be the president until January. And I don't think he's going to give in to any other pressure to go anywhere that he doesn't want to go at this point.
Alex, the palace.
Oh, that Blackbird's back. That Blackbird was screwing with the.
There was the event that Kamala Harris had the White
Squirrels
House,
earlier.
impromptu presser for President Biden, and of course the garbage people comment. It just felt like there was already resentment from the Biden camp for being pushed out in the first place, and you have to wonder to what degree that hurt the overall cause.
Yeah, I think the resentment, is definitely there. We know even from the beginning of the Biden administration, when all of this conversation about Harris stepping in wasn't even there yet, the Biden team and Obama's team have always had this tension between them. And I think that, Obama being largely behind the pressure campaign to then kick out Biden off the top of the ticket, all of this is really building up to this point of tension that I think Biden allies, Biden loyalists are just sticking to themselves and in this orbit now.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch from afar. Meanwhile, Trump saying that Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo, they will not be part of the new administration. Bill, what's that signaling?
Well, I think it's an odd signal. I can understand Nikki Haley. He resents her for having run, probably some things she said, although she came around and endorsed him at the end, didn't heed the Never Trumpers. Mike Pompeo, I'm less sure about because I think he was a loyal Trump staffer. He brings very valuable experience and judgment to the cause. We have an editorial today saying this is more about positioning J.D. Vance for 2028, but it's a little unusual to say who you're not going to appoint. It's like a needless insult, and I was kind of surprised.
Alex, real quick to you. I mean, in some ways, maybe a needless insult, but also it's one of those things that was floating around there. Maybe just it feels like President-elect Trump is just checking off the boxes.
That's right. These were two names that I think people were watching, especially after Haley said, she was voting for Trump after running against him. So it does feel like a checking of the boxes, but I'm also not surprised. I mean, Haley ran, Pompeo flirted with running. Trump wants people that are loyal to him through and through. And both of them sent out some nice statements today saying, I enjoyed my time working for him, even if I'm not going to make it in the next administration.
Very cordial, very professional, as they both are, and as you two are. Appreciate it, Alex, Bill. Let's talk again soon. Meanwhile, folks, major airlines are suspending flights to Haiti. This at least until Thursday after a Spirit Air jet, upon arriving from Fort Lauderdale, actually came under gunfire. This is gang violence there continues to surge, and a flight attendant was injured. I want to go to Jonathan Siri in Atlanta for more on what we're learning. Jonathan.
Yeah, Charles, a bizarre incident to say the very least. This was Spirit Airlines Flight 951. It was heading from Fort Lauderdale to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, when while it was attempting to land in Haiti and encountered gunfire. Amateur video appears to show damage to several locations inside the passenger cabin. The plane diverted to the neighboring Dominican Republic, where it landed safely at STI Airport in Santiago. A Spirit Airlines statement says,
Sorry, Carol.
Arrival at STI, an inspection revealed evidence of damage to the aircraft consistent with gunfire. One flight attendant on board reported minor injuries and is being evaluated by medical personnel. No guest injuries were reported. Today, the State Department issued a security alert stating that the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince is aware of gang-led efforts to block travel to and from Port-au-Prince, which may include armed violence and disruption to roads, ports, and airports. The statement goes on to advise, do not travel to Haiti.
No shit.
This latest alert comes a day after the country's ruling presidential council fired acting Prime Minister Gary Conille, who had served for about 6 months. As for the passengers and crew on board that aircraft that came under attack, Spirit says that it is working on bringing them back to Fort Lauderdale later today, obviously on board a different aircraft. The one that encountered the gunfire has been temporarily taken out of service.
Not Spirit.
Jonathan, thank you very much.
New number on it.
Ahead of Trump's border crackdown, are migrant groups starting to pick back up? Texas official Chris Oliveris is coming up. Plus, a FEMA scandal is blowing up. An employee fired after telling relief workers to avoid homes with pro-Trump signs. Should more action be taken? Find out what Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is calling for right now. But first, how can Trump deliver on tax cuts and tariffs without fueling inflation? We'll ask one of his most trusted money men about that next.
Get your home ready for holiday gatherings with Stanley Steamer. We take care of
Stanley
the
Steamer
so
gets
you
your
don't have
carpet
to. Make
cleaner.
your home shine for your special occasions. Because it's not clean until it's Stanley Steamer clean.
You're late.
Yeah, well, our quickie wasn't so quick.
Danny, I think you would like watching this show.
Where's Dave?
I'm going to start watching it.
What is it?
It's called The Rookie.
That's exactly like that.
It's about a rookie cop.
Scramble to get a replacement. That's sweet.
Hi, sexy. I'm Sava.
What's up, Jake? We got a lot of gear. It's a big job.
Mm-hmm. Are you gonna finally tell us what it is?
When we're airborne. First, cell phones. You'll get them back when it's over. Can't risk operational security.
You hear that, baby? We're in the big leagues now, using terms like operational security.
Get in the damn plane. You heard the man? Get in the damn plane.
They're boarding. How's that jet coming?
It's almost here. Our jet's crew just filed their flight plan.
Where are they going?
Vegas.
2 truths and a lie.
I have an estranged twin. Geico didn't raise my rates after my first accident. And I can convince trees to bear fruit.
What was his name? Your twin. His name.
I just made that up. Part of the game.
For savings and service, get more with Geico.
We don't have that many friends.
Subway launched new $6.99 meal deals with any 6-inch sub.
Wait, Subway did what?
Yep. For a limited time, get any 6-inch sub, tip, and a drink, all for just $6.99.
Over 400,000 people with AFib have left blood thinners behind with Watchman, a safe one-time implant that reduces stroke risk and bleeding worry. For life, Watchman. It's one time.
And community events to complete sports coverage and front row seats to the arts and entertainment scene. Because local news is essential to our daily lives. We deliver it online to racks, stores, and to your doorstep. Essential local news. Lehigh Valley Press and lvpnews.com. Subscribe today.
Introducing Splenda Stevia. Grown by farmers to help people reduce sugar. Our plants are sweetened by sunshine. Grown on our farm. Enjoyed at your table. Behind every Splenda product is a mission, helping millions of people reduce sugar from their diets. Now try a sweetener grown by U.S. farmers. Introducing zero-calorie Splenda Stevia. At Splenda Stevia Farms, our plants are sweetened by sunshine. Experience how great Splenda Stevia can be. Grown on our farm. Enjoyed at your table.
As President-elect Trump fills out his team, Republicans' first big legislative order of business is for your green. That's right, extending those Trump tax cuts. To Hillary Vaughn on Capitol Hill with the latest. Hillary.
Charles, Republicans have been gearing up for what they're calling the Super Bowl of tax policy, preparing to make Trump's 2017 tax cuts that expire at the end of the next year permanent. Republicans are also tasked with working up Trump's other tax ideas, like no taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget warns Trump's tax cut wish list could come with a hefty price tag, estimating it could add $7.5 trillion to the debt over a decade. But Congressman Byron Donald says their prediction doesn't take into account all the economic growth that will come from putting money back into people's pockets.
No, it doesn't cost $7 trillion. And the reason why we know this is because under his first tax policy, which is current tax law today, the Democrats and all these outside groups said it would cost $5 trillion. The truth is the federal government raised more tax revenue that was ever modeled or contemplated by any of these organizations.
But there are already some differences emerging between what Republicans want. House Republicans want to move on an overall tax, border, and energy package within the first 100 days of the new Congress. But some Senate Republicans forecast this could be a year-long effort. There's also a lot up in the air. House Republicans are still several seats shy of gaining control of the House, and Senate Republicans do not have their majority leader picked yet. The contest is between Senators John Thune, John Cornyn, and Senator Rick Scott.
I'm very optimistic. I believe I'm going to win. Thune and Cornyn are friends. Here's what I bring to the table. I clearly believe in the Trump agenda, number one. I'm a business guy that had success doing exactly what we need to do in the Senate.
There's also likely to be disagreement among Republicans on the overall cost of all of these ideas. Some are not going to want to sign up for adding a ton to the deficit without a way to pay for it. One senator saying you can't hope the growing debt problem goes away with, quote, pixie dust. So some hard calls may have to be made to get all Republicans on board. Charles?
Let's not put tariffs on pixie dust if that's the case. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, a report from the New York Times illustrating just how some in the GOP are already raising questions and concerns about the cost of some of the Trump proposals. And there is talk that some may actually need to be scaled back. So what's our next guest hearing? Let's bring in Trump campaign economic advisor Steve Moore. Steve, it's so interesting to me because almost every time we talk tariffs, the cautionary tale zeroes in, of course, on the Great Depression in the 1930s. Never much on McKinley, never much on the Fort North Macumber or other times that we've had tariffs pretty successfully in this country. How does President Trump plan to convince his fellow Republicans that this is the right way to go?
Well, there's two issues here, Charles. One is how do we make his landmark 2017 tax bill permanent? Because as you know, if no action is taken this year, a lot of that tax bill expires and the average family would pay about $2,500 more in taxes, and it would hurt our businesses. And then, of course, there's the secondary issue about the tariffs that Trump has been talking about. Now, maybe, I'm just thinking out loud here, Charles, and I've talked to some of the top economic advisors that have worked with me in the Trump campaign, we could maybe mix these two and use tariffs as a way to pay for some of these tax cuts. In other words, as Trump has said, lower taxes on things that are made here in the United States, which is what we did with that tax bill, and maybe raise tax on things that are coming in from China. That could work, it could pay for it, but this is all going to have to go, I don't want to get too complicated here, but this is going to have to go through what we call reconciliation process, which allows bills to be passed with 51 votes in the Senate. And Charles, guess what? The Republicans have 53 in the Senate, so they could do that.
Right, but again, getting back to the argument, though, because you and I know a lot of real old school conservative orthodoxy when it comes to economics is that tariffs are a tax. And so, yeah, on one hand, we know that lowering taxes, we're both pro-growth. We know that more money that circulates in the economy, the better it is, and that'll offset anything. We know government probably end up taking more revenue in terms of lower taxes, but the part that you may have trouble with some Republicans is saying, okay, how do you exactly implement these higher tariffs without them hurting the American public?
Good question.
Well, again, there's two issues here. And by the way, I'm not a big tariff guy, as you know.
I know
Charles.
that. Yeah.
I mean, I love most of what Trump
I'm more
wants
of a
to do.
tariff guy than you are.
I know you are. And all I'm saying is, if these tariffs are done in a strategic way, where there is a slight harm from raising taxes on imported goods, but if you're actually cutting tax on things that are made here in Michigan and Ohio and California and these other states, that might be a good thing overall for the economy.
Right.
Look, I think Trump has a mandate to do this. He spent the last year and a half telling the American people, if you elect me, I'm going to make these tax cuts permanent. The American people want that to happen, and I think the Democrats are going to have to make a hard case about why they are going against the will of the American people. They worked, and Byron Donald was right. If you look at the amount of revenue that came in, it was higher. It was not lower. It was higher than what was expected if we had done nothing.
I think that's going to be the easier part, the tariff part. But listen, we know we're talking about the tariffs working and not working. We know also the real end of this, the end game is to bring manufacturing back, to have fair trade with foreign countries, right? I mean, I think we're losing sight of will they work, how do they work? We're the largest economy in the world. We need to start throwing our weight around and stop being pushed around. And to me, Steve, it makes sense because it's nuts to deal with China on their terms, particularly while they're weak right now. That's a busted nation. This is the time to go after them. And American companies that will give away American jobs should have to pay a tax.
Well, that's the point that Donald Trump made, and boy, did the voters, that was a message that appealed to them.
Yeah.
And I'm a free trade guy, but I do think China is in a separate category. They are involved in very predatory practices. They're an enemy of the United States. Yes, I think tariffs on China probably make sense, but we don't have to sort of speculate about what the impact of making the Trump tax cuts permanent are, because we already saw that it was a huge success. We saw a boom in employment. We saw a boom in revenues. All of these things that were positive. So let's just get this done. I know Trump makes it a high priority. I think he's going to be like Secretariat, racing out of the gates to get this done.
All right. Well, I know you probably go back to the phone because a lot of appointments are being made, and maybe we'll make some news with you later today. Thanks a lot, my man. Appreciate it, Steve. So our border crossings starting to actually pick up with Trump with his coming crackdown. We're going to ask a Texas official who's actually on the ground.